I saw this yesterday at the trade deadline. I'm not sure how many people paid attention to the NFL trade deadline. There was something else going on, but the Commanders went and got Marshawn Lattimore, a really good corner. Now, I texted a couple of GMs in the league yesterday. Lattimore's a great player. He's not always available, so he misses a lot of work, hamstring. But I like the move. I think it's worth the risk. But he's hurt a lot. But I was thinking about this. The Washington Commanders are why the NFL is king. One of the reasons. It's the League of Hope. You could not do what they do in the NBA, in the NHL, or baseball. Go from literally the sports laughingstock to excellent. 19 of the last 21 NFL seasons, at least one team has gone from last to first place in their division. This year we have two, Commanders, Arizona. So, I mean, Washington flushed everybody out. The owner, the coach, the executives, the scouts. I mean, they just started over. And I had told Jason McIntyre, generally I don't like that, but if everybody was bad before and everybody's much better now, then by all means, get new furniture, clean out the rooms. So Adam Schefter reported this week that literally NFL players privately to their agents were texting him and saying, get me to the Commanders. So, and I think this has really always been, there's a couple of things that make the NFL really popular, but I think hope is key. Think about the Chargers. The Chargers had the worst defense in the league last year, and now they have the number one defense. And they didn't get a bunch of new players. They just got the right coach. The Commanders were unwatchable offensively last year. Now they have the number 3 offense. Better than Kansas City's. Why? Because they got the right quarterback and coordinator. So the coach and the coordinator, the head coach and the quarterback are the king and the queen of the chessboard in the league. And I think it's just great that sometimes you don't even have to get a coach and a quarterback to go from bad to great. The Rams had Jared Goff. They just got a coach, Sean McVay. Same quarterback, turned it around in 1 year. So I think there's just something to be said about the way the collective bargaining works. The league in which the players have the least amount of power is football. And it's the best run league. Baseball players have too much power. Teams get trapped with bad contracts. NBA, players league. NFL, it's not. That's why in the NFL, name 2 terrible contracts in the league right now where a team is trapped. Obviously, Denver and Russell Wilson's deal for the rest of this year and next year, it's not ideal. But it is hard to find in the NFL. Deshaun Watson, that's Cleveland's fault. That's not the league's fault. That's not the CBA's fault. That's just bad ownership. Cleveland's got a terrible contract. That's on Cleveland. That's just, they do stuff like that. But it is hard to find multiple bad contracts. I mean, I go back to the best of Kansas City. If you look at their entire organization, have they ever had a really terrible contract? Not really. New England had Albert Hainsworth for a very short time. They moved off it. But, you want to give the players all this power. Well, what happens is you get buried in bad contracts. And the NFL doesn't have it. So if you want to clean house, you can go from the Texans, Commanders, 1 year, league laughingstock. Next year, playoff team. And I think hope the Chargers, you looked at them last year, and, players quit. Football players don't quit. Hockey and football players don't quit during games. You get hurt. Players quit last year. And now this year, I think if Buffalo doesn't do it, the Chargers will be the first team that actually beat the Chiefs. Because I think they match up really, really well. Tom Brady.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm watching this clip and I'm like, man, how do I want to even title this clip, right? Players call agents to go to Commanders, or Washington Commanders better offense than Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think I'll probably have to go with that one. It's a little bit easier to put in a title rather than saying, players call agents to tell them, please send me to the Washington Commanders. But let's talk about both things, right? Even though they're two very different things, but honestly, not necessarily. That is what the Commanders have built, and they've done it instantly. I mean, think about that. Instantly. Let me say it again. Instantly. Like, that's what happens. That's what happens when you get your quarterback, your coach, your coordinators. Like, that's what happens, man. It happens that quickly. Let that be a message for every team out there that things are just not going well. If you build it, they will come. Right? You get the infrastructure, you get the important pieces, and then other players are going to want to go there. Players buy into coach speak all the time, which I talk about, right? Players get brainwashed all the time. It takes you like years of playing for you to kind of realize like, I don't know about this, right? And some players never do. But what you can't fool a player in is if someone's good or not. You just can't. You can't trick someone into believing that someone is good. They can't have a quarterback or a coach, especially a coach too. Players can buy into coach speak, but if a coach doesn't understand the game or isn't a good coach, isn't making good game plans, whatever it may be, you can't fool them. You can't fool a player. They just know. You just know. I've been around so many coaches, but you just know they got it or they don't. And it's a very frustrating feeling to be around coaches who you feel that you know more than them, right? It's a weird situation to be in. And so the fact that the Commanders have now built a team and a culture and an environment that players are like, I want to be there. That's really special. That is what only a few teams have right now, right? That is, the Kansas City Chiefs have that. The Philadelphia Eagles have that. The 49ers have that. To a degree, because IU kind of like was weird about it, quite frankly. He kind of almost made you like, well, is that real? And now you're going to add the Washington Commanders. I'm sure I'm missing a team or two. But now you have it with the Washington Commanders. You don't have people that are dying to go to the Cowboys. That's a thing of the past. No one's dying to go to the Giants. No one is saying, hey, I really want to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Indianapolis Colts. No one's saying, get me to the Chargers. That might change, of course. Definitely might change. No one's saying, I want to go to the Raiders. But it is undeniably, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers. Now the Washington Commanders. That's extraordinary. There's not a single player that wanted to go to the Washington Commanders last year. Not a single player. I mean, you would have had to have put them in handcuffs and duct tape, man. Like, there's just nobody that was wanting to go. And I agree with Colin. It was Miss TV for the Washington Commanders for these last few years. When they had a few interesting stories, right? Like Carson Wentz is the quarterback. I forget who was that feisty backup quarterback. I completely forget his name right now. I think he even played in a playoff game or was playing Tom Brady to get into the playoffs. Oh god, his name has completely slipped my mind. But like, he was kind of fun. He was interesting to be like, oh, let's see what, it's always fun to watch those kind of stories. But outside of that, you're like, what am I watching here, man? Like, what? I'm going to watch the Washington Commanders versus the New York Giants. Like, that's fun. Like, no. And I know Washington Commanders fans know what I'm saying. Like, I know you guys know more than anything. It was just like, okay, great. Even if they were playing a great rivalry like the Giants or the Eagles or the Cowboys, it was like, okay, whatever. Who cares? Even if you're a mega Eagles fan or a mega Cowboys fan, beating the Commanders is like, if you were excited about that, then that's like, your expectations are too low. Now the games can begin. Now it's going to be fun. Now it's going to be contentious. Now it's going to be back and forth. Now it's going to be a nail biter. Now you're going to be actually competing. Like, these games are going to matter because they're going to be for the actual division. Not just, hey, let's boost up our numbers and try to elevate ourselves in the rankings because we get to feast. So it's remarkable. It cannot be understated truly how remarkable it is. And, this idea that they've put together an offense that is better than the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand the Chiefs have their injuries and stuff like that, but it's still Patrick Mahomes. It's still Andy Reid. It's still Travis Kelce. Like, right? We're talking about goat on goat on goat on goat here. All-time greats. All-time legends. Like, I always use as a reference point how great someone is. Can you tell the story of football, the history of football? If football just ended today, could we look back? Could you tell the story of the NFL without mentioning Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce? The answer is no. The answer is no. So that's how you know how important those guys are. And you're doing better than them in 1 year? I don't care. I don't care what the injuries are. I don't care about any of that. Like, that's special. Because it's not like this is a seasoned veteran team with an established, quarterback who's been in the league for years, with a coach who's been in the NFL for years. Like, I mean, in terms of like head coaching, right? Like this was a redemption story kind of for a lot of people, for Dan Quinn, for Cliff Kingsbury. You can't necessarily say that for Jayden Daniels. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that doubted him, but he was drafted, pretty high, safe to say. So it's not like he was completely doubted. I think Caleb Williams just got so much hype because he was Caleb Williams, because he was a number 1 overall pick, that it took away significant shine and attention and media stories about Jayden, right? And I think if Caleb wasn't in that draft, then Jayden would have gotten all of that, and it would have been boosted up more. But so you can kind of make the argument that it's like a little bit redeeming, because he's like, I should be the number 1 pick, but you should thank your lucky stars, Washington Commanders, that was not the case, right? Because the Chicago Bears had the opportunity to draft Jayden Daniels, and they did not. I mean, this whole story just continues to get remarkable. He didn't even really answer this question. Is Washington built for a playoff run? I already made a video kind of unpacking that through NFL Live and stuff like that. In case you didn't see it, I really try my best not to repeat myself, even though it's absolutely, utterly impossible when you make the amount of videos that I do. But yes, they absolutely are built for a playoff run. The expectations should be managed. As I just ranted and raved about them, it still needs to be managed. You still need to be understood of what you have here and how early it is, right? There's a reason why teams typically don't just instantly hit the ground running and go off and win a Super Bowl. It's brutally difficult. It's brutally difficult, and it would be, if the Washington Commanders pulled that off, it's hard to find a more amazing story. Honestly, it's really hard to find them. The best I would honestly be, and sorry, Commanders fans, would probably be a backup quarterback beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, right? Like outdueling Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. That's would be close to it, but that was over a shorter window, right? Versus this would be the whole season, start to finish. It would be remarkable. So it's just, got to keep your expectations managed and realistic. But are they built for a playoff run? Were the Packers built for a playoff run last year? Were the Lions built for a playoff run last year? The 49ers, were they built for a playoff run last year, right? Were the Ravens built for a playoff run last year? The Bills? The answer is yes to all of that. Well, then the Washington Commanders are built for a playoff run. And that's clearly why they made the moves that they've made. That's why they're making the decisions that they've made. Because they could easily just sit on things right now and just be like, okay, this is a great year. We are excited. We found our guy. We found our guys, right? We got the coaching staff. We got the players. Let's just chill right now. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get better. And then we're going to look into the offseason, see who's available, and we're going to make some moves, right? We're going to go get this guy in the draft, that guy in the draft, this guy in the free agency. Let's bring T. Higgins over here, whatever it may be, just making stuff up, right? Like, let's do it. But they're not doing that. They're like, we got a really great team right now. We can do some damage. And again, you continue to signal to other players, we are for real, let's go. Let's go. So this is just exciting. This is I don't know how you can't be thrilled if you're a Washington Commanders fan. I know Giants fans, Eagles fans, and Cowboys fans certainly have to be unsettled by this, especially Cowboys and Giants fans, because they're going in the wrong direction. At least the Eagles are, obviously competitive and have, went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. It's like, what have the Giants and the Cowboys done? Nothing. But at the same time, they should be a little bit optimistic and be like, hey, look, the Washington Commanders did it. Why can't we? And they're like, well, you paid your quarterback, both your quarterbacks, a little too much money. And when you guys have talent, you let them go, like Saquon Barkley, and you paid Dak Prescott $240 million. If you could pick two quarterbacks right now to pay $240 million, you had the $240, you have to pay it to one or the other. Jayden Daniels or Dak Prescott? Who you going to pay? The answer is obvious. The answer is obvious. And if the answer is that obvious, then it means the other team made a mistake. And so now, of course, you have Jane Daniels for free, essentially, effectively. You get to continue to build this team, get to continue to be aggressive, and just wild. The whole Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels and all of that is really truly the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, it's so remarkable, which is so crazy because I remember last year, right? Didn't the Cowboys beat the Commanders Thanksgiving, and they were just, jumping for joy, singing and dancing and jumping in the that pot or whatever the heck it is. I don't even know. Cauldron, the whatever it is, and they're eating turkey legs and singing and dancing and just they acted like they won the Super Bowl, right? And it was like, okay, settle down. Well, let's look at it now. What's happening this year? Who do you think is singing and dancing? Who do you think is celebrating? Who do you think is going to have a much more happy season of holidays, of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and anything else in between? New Year's, whatever. Who do you think's enjoying themselves a little bit more right now? Who do you think's future is a little bit brighter? Who do you think's present is a little bit brighter? Yeah, I think we know the answer to those questions as well. The Washington Commanders is making content around them is got to be the easiest thing ever. Just state the obvious. Just sit here and state the obvious. It's not that complicated. It's really not. People outthink themselves and try to find reasons, why something isn't necessarily true, and which is not necessarily a bad way to go about things. But sometimes it's just very obvious, right? When your mouth is dry, drink water. When you're tired, go to sleep. When the Washington Commanders have already an earth-shattering great quarterback, the team is going to be better. When you have a coach who knows what he's doing, the team is going to be better. When you have an offensive coordinator, the team is going to be better. When the team is better and has great, young, dynamic, exciting talent and great leadership and great culture, other players are going to want to go there. When other players want to play there and the team is great and the players are great and the coaching staff is great and the city is great, dare I say, you're going to play great. That's wild. It's wild, man. Wild. It's so confusing how that can be. But those are just my thoughts. I'm coming in hot right now. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders? The fact of what they've been able to build, the fact that they're better than offensively than the Kansas City Chiefs. Are they built for a playoff run? The fact that players are hitting up their agents, they want to go to Washington. Any of that stuff, let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to be part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.